Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna dress up a few items for Christmas, and we're just gonna do some simple things to get them ready for adding to your Christmas decor. So we're gonna start with this lamp, or this lantern rather. It doesn't have any glass in it. So it's going to be really easy to work with, and so I'm just going to start by putting this little wreath inside, and because the wreath is larger than I need it to be, I have to kind of pry it in there, but then that'll just help it to stay in place better. And then I'm just going to add this little battery operated candle and keep this kind of simple. And because this isn't a Christmas wreath, there's a few things that I need to remove, and then I'm adding some Christmas greenery to it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas wreath if you can kind of work with those with the greenery in it by adding some of the other. And then I'm going to add some paint to make it look frosted also, and that'll also help it to look more Christmassy. And because this doesn't have the glass in it, although it might make some people not want it as just a lantern, it makes a really good display without it. I actually like it better without the glass, because then your candle shows up really well, and then I'm able to make it more, add more dimension to it by letting some of the greenery protrude from the sides. And then, like I said, I just take some white paint and just kind of blot it on top of some of the leaves, just until I get the amount of snow that I want to, or the amount of snow look that I want. And like I've mentioned before, since I discovered that just adding paint like this can really update greenery, I probably use it a little too much, because I feel like I'm using it all the time, but I think it really makes a big difference in updating Christmas greenery. And I like that this little lantern is already the color that I need it to be, so I didn't have to do any painting on this one. So now I'm adding some berries just to brighten this up a little, and then obviously I'll be adding some of the paint to my berries also. So once I get the snow added to this, or the paint added to this, then all it needs is a bow. So I'm just going to put a bow on the top with a little bit of greenery in the center of it and finish this off. And then for the next item is, I have several of these little cutting boards. They're actually just... They are cutting boards, but they're more decorative than anything, because these are reproduced in Mexico, actually, and I order these and just sell them more for looks than anything. They're very thin, so not real good. Like I said, probably not usable for a cutting board anyway. So this is just going to be for decor here, and all I'm going to do to this cutting board is put some little greenery around the top and tie some ribbon around it, and just call this one finished. It's just, sometimes decorating for the holidays is just, you just have to add little touches to items that you already have to make them go with your decor. So I'm just kind of showing some ways that we can decorate without having much time or even materials in it. And I didn't mention that I'm using, and I used on the lantern, I'm I'm just using some faux burlap ribbon that I got at Walmart actually a few years ago, and I'm still using it. So I'll use that same ribbon to tie a bow in this one, because I'm actually trying to keep my colors neutral here as usual. And like I said, all I'm going to do is just tie that around there, and then put some greenery in the center, and this will be finished. Like I said, I know these are very simple decor pieces, but sometimes, especially around the holidays, it helps to have some very simple and quick projects that can make a big difference in our decor. So there, that one is finished. And then for the last item, I did one of these not that long ago, but this is just a frame that I had, a large frame that I just don't like the color of. So I'm painting this in the color Buttercream, and that's a Dixie Belle chalk paint color. But the reason I'm doing this one on film, because like I said, I know it wasn't that long ago that I did one, but for some reason I lost the footage on the on adding the greenery to it. So I just thought that might be helpful to know how to make that. And this is a frame that didn't have any glass with it, so if you're trying to decorate, use a frame for decorative purposes, I feel like you need something on it if you're not going to have art inside it. So so that's my plan here, is to put 2 coats of the color Buttercream and let that dry, and then I wet distressed it somewhat. I didn't distress it a lot, just because even though this is the darker gold, I didn't want much of it coming through. And then I'm just going to use some clear wax when it's dry and seal that in. So like I said, I just used wet distressed it, which you just take a damp cloth and just kind of rub it with quite a bit of pressure, and that will do some distressing. And it's a good way to distress without overdoing it. And then, like I said, once I did that, then I used some clear wax on it. And anytime you use wax, if you don't let your paint dry really well first, and if you don't seal it first, then you may pull a little bit more paint off rubbing the wax. So if you want that to happen, and sometimes I do, then just add some extra pressure and it will pull that off. But if you don't, then the best thing to do is just make sure that you spray it with a clear finish before, or actually brush on a top coat. Anything to seal it before you put that wax on there. But now we're just going to make this little corner spray or swag or whatever you want to call it by taking 2 picks and bending them together in an L shape. So we'll bend those together in an L shape, and then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue just to kind of hold it in place somewhat until I put my floral wire around it. And then I'm just going to wrap some floral wire to secure it. Now with the last one I did, I put a little eye hook in that corner, and then I just kind of connected my little spray or swag to that. But this time I'm not. I'm just going to wrap it around that frame, and I'm going to be adding a bow to it, so I'll be able to hide that. And now I'm going to make a bow to go on this. And I'm just going to make a 6-loop bow. And I do that by cutting equal pieces of ribbon and connecting them together. And I'll show you how I do that. But what I do is I just take a piece and make a loop. And that will be the size of all of my loops. So I just cut them separate. Instead of wrapping around and then cutting at the end, I'm just cutting them separate. You could do it either way here. but I'm making all my loops the same size. And now I'm going to just pinch them together in the center and hold them all together. And so you're going to do this with all 6 of them, and then take some floral wire and wrap very securely around the center. And once you get that wrapped really securely, then you can start to fluff your bow out. And when you're fluffing the bow, you want all the loops to be in the front and all of the tails spread out in the back. And then we can just kind of fishtail those by folding the ends in half and cutting out the center, if that makes sense. But you just, like I said, you want all your loops to be in the front. And any of those tails that are still showing, as you can see, I'm just taking and fishtailing those. And as you can see, my spray here, or my swag, is kind of swagging and not staying in place. So I'm twisting it where it needs to be, and then wrapping that wire around it in the back so that it holds that up there in place, because it definitely needs to stay the shape of the corner. So that makes your spray, and you could leave it like this and just give it more of a traditional look, but I'm adding some extra greenery because I do like to add some different textures. I just feel like it will take some greenery that is otherwise maybe cheap looking or plain, and it just kind of spruces it up. And I know this is a little different color greenery, and that's okay with me too, because it adds more dimension. And I'm going to be taking some paint and dabbing over the top of this, and that will kind of marry the different types together anyway. So I'm just adding some little pieces from some picks that I've taken apart and hot gluing them into the original spray. And now I'm just going to add some berries, and like I said, I'll give all of this a frosted look just by dabbing some white paint over the top. So again, this is something that once you know what you're doing, it doesn't take very long at all to do. And like I said, I just love how adding some white to this and giving it more of a snowy look really makes a good difference in your greenery. And I wish I had a quick fix like this for more spring and summer greenery, because a lot of times you'll get that and it'll be cheap looking, or you'll be able to thrift some that's cheap looking. Obviously, we can't add snow to those, but definitely for winter greenery, this does the trick. So that was the last item here that I'm going to be doing. Like I said, just some quick little ideas for creating some holiday decor or Christmas decor that you don't have to go out and buy a lot to do. You can just take what you already have and add some little quick touches to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.